A lot of people have been asking me to make a video about how to pack a record once you sell it online. So I've done a fair amount of selling, and I'm more than happy to share my technique, which is pretty much what everyone does. So you can make sure when you sell a record, you pack it well, it does not arrive damaged, and you do not get yelled at by the buyer. Check it out. Selling records doesn't have to be daunting. It's super easy if you know how to do it. But most people don't realize that records are very, very fragile, so how you pack it really determines if it will arrive safely at the destination. I'm going to show you my steps so that if you have to sell a record, everything's going to go off without a hitch. Just want to say a quick shout out to this video's sponsor, Vinyl Moon, the only record club that sends you not just amazing music, but a collectible every month. So sometimes you can sell through Craigslist, and that's local, and you can just hand deliver that and not have to worry about things getting dinged up in transit. But oftentimes, you're going to sell records through the two big hubs, which are eBay and Discogs. The first thing and the most important thing is the box that you are shipping a record in. If you've ever ordered a record online, no doubt, unless the person was a jackass, you received in one of these guys. This is called a 12-inch record mailer. They're pretty much made just for records, and that's because they offer the best protection possible. So there are lots of variations. Some are built more like tanks, some are a little thinner, some of those Amazon ones where you have to rip off the back, but the goal of it is the same. You're not going to want the thing moving around inside. You want it to be snug and secure without taking up too much space as a package. So this really does the trick. You do not want to use a bubble mailer or anything flimsy because that thing is going to be thrown around in the back of a truck. It is going to arrive mangled and your buyer is not going to be pleased. You can buy these mailers eBay, Amazon. I'll leave some links in the description for you, but you can also go to your local record stores. They usually will be selling them, or you can sometimes ask them for extra ones they have in the back. Recycling mailers is great as long as they're still intact and don't have any damage or broken corners or have lost the hold to them so they lose their shape. Another thing, make sure the record mailer is not overstuffed. You might want to see if you can fit 3, 4, 5 records in one, and maybe you can and just close it tight enough and tape it up. That's a really bad idea. The pressure could cause the records to warp in transit, which is not good. But more importantly, these corners are going to get crushed in transit because all the pressure. I've had record mailers that were overstuffed, and I had 4 or 5 records that should have been split into 2. Every single corner was bent or crushed, and that is heartbreaking. So make sure you put at max 2, 3, depending on the size. If it's a double gatefold, you're obviously going to fit less than if it's a single panel. You're going to want to take the record, take it out of the sleeve like this, put it on top of the jacket, and then put it in a 12-inch outer sleeve. By doing this, you're preventing the record from sliding around inside of the jacket. Some record jackets are tight enough where there won't be too much movement, but some record jackets are a little loose, and this record will be just going like this inside of it, and over the course of its journey to its destination, it's going to cause seam splits on the side of the jacket. That's not good. By doing this, you're preventing it. To fill the space, if the records don't just fill the space, you're going to want to use these. These are 12-inch cardboard pieces that basically simulate a record, so you can put it on top and below your record to ensure that everything you put in is snug and immobile. You can also use bubble wrap or really anything else. You can get creative. Just make sure that you put enough so that when you're done, the record does not move around inside and it is not too squished inside the mailer. A good test that I like to do, once my record is fully sealed, everything's in there, the fillers, the records, and it's taped up, I give it a little shake. Now, don't go like this, because then if it isn't done properly, you're going to possibly get seam splits. Something extremely important when you are packaging your record. If it's not sealed, I highly recommend doing this for every record you send. So you give it a nice little shake, really simple, just to hear if it's moving around. If you did it right, it shouldn't be moving. If it is moving, open it up and add some more filler. Because as long as it's not moving and it's not too stuffed, this is going to get to your destination and be just fine. Real quick, it's worth mentioning box sets. So box sets, oftentimes when you shake them, even out of a package, you can hear all the things inside moving around. If you're sending someone a sealed box set, you just have to hope for the best and hope nothing gets damaged in transit, because theoretically, if you bought that from the label, when it's sent to you, it could get damaged that way too. So that's kind of just left up to fate. But if you have an open box set and you're sending it to someone, I highly recommend taking out all of the contents that'll slide around. And then if there's a jacket, taking the record out of the jacket. Be very meticulous, because when you put it in a box, it's not going to fit in a record mailer. You're going to have to put it in a box with bubble wrap and all kinds of padding around it. It's a little more complex, and if you want to do it the right way, it's going to take a little time, but I promise you, it's safe to ship box sets. I've done it before. I've received them before. Just be very careful with your process. If you're in the USA, always go for media mail. Records are considered media mail, and it is the cheapest rate to send. Media mail is a service within USPS. So like you can get first class or priority or express, whatever it may be. Media mail is specifically for media. but you're gonna be paying maybe $3 to $4 per record you ship. Super cheap compared to anything else, and this is the standard way that most people in the USA trade records. Now, if you need to get it there fast, I would recommend maybe springing for first class or something a little higher, but media mail, I've had good experiences, usually gets there in about a week, maybe a week and a half, sometimes even faster than that. If you're shipping internationally, this is where it gets very tricky. International shipping from the US is very expensive. If you just want to send it with no tracking or anything like that, it's about $22, $23 to ship to most countries. That's pricey. But the reason you don't want to send without tracking is this. If you receive money via PayPal for any record you sold and you send it internationally without any way to track it, that buyer can scam you. Now, they can scam you by just saying, hey, the record never arrived. And you know what? PayPal's gonna side with them because you have no way to track it and no way to prove it. PayPal almost always sides with the buyer. To prevent this, you might want to spring for something a little more expensive. Now, if you're going to get full tracking, some countries, it could be up to $50, $60, which is not worth it. If your buyer is desperate for the record, hopefully they'll still pay it, but they have something called registered mail, which some countries allow you to do. It gives you a tracking number through the end of its US trip, and then it's kind of on the country to scan it. They're not guaranteed to scan it, so you can still get screwed over, but that's a safe way that kind of gives you some insurance and a little bit of fighting ground if, let's say, it doesn't arrive and you're like, hey, I sent it, it went to the US. You might be able to win that battle, but international shipping can be really tricky. I've had good luck with it, and I've also had some real bad luck, so your mileage may vary. And if you're watching this internationally and you're shipping to the US, I don't really know how that works, so I don't really have any tips or comments on how that postal service works, but from what I can tell, it's a lot cheaper to ship to the US than from the US, so you guys have it good when you're sending records to us, but we're a little screwed, so bear with us. Another thing worth mentioning is insurance. Even with media mail, you can insure your package up to whatever amount you want. So if you're selling a really expensive record and sending it media mail, it might get there slowly, but you can still insure it for $200, $300, $400, whatever you have to insure it for. Now, insurance is not a fail-safe. Insurance will help if the record goes missing, but it won't help if the record inside is damaged. Unfortunately, that's not a workaround the system where you can send someone a damaged record, insure it, and get your money back for it. It doesn't work like that. Only if the packaging is incredibly damaged or if the record goes missing does the insurance kick in. Use it if you want. It's a nice thing to lean back on, but it's not going to save every situation. So those are my general tips. Hopefully you guys learned a few things. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have in the comments. If I left any essential steps out, make sure you let me know, but I think this is pretty much the basics of how to ship a record and make sure it gets there perfect. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe, and I'll have more videos for you very soon.